I drove 4 hours with my kids. With gifts. My dad opened the door, stepped outside and said, "It's probably better if you don't come in." I just nodded, took the bags back to the car. 20 minutes later, my aunt called screaming. "Why did the band cancel? They said you called." Without thinking twice, It was one of the most hurtful things anyone had ever done to me, and I could barely contain myself. I didn't want to show it in front of the children, but I was boiling inside. I had just driven 4 hours with them in the back seat, the car loaded with gifts, balloons, a special cake, a projector for a slideshow my mom had ordered, and a USB drive with digital home videos that she said she hadn't seen in decades. My son had fallen asleep with a homemade card on his lap. My daughter kept asking if Grandma would cry with happiness when she saw the jewelry. We arrived at my parents' house, and there was no music, no guests, no decorations. There wasn't even a car in the driveway. I thought maybe we had arrived too early. I asked my daughter to help me carry the gift bags, and we approached the porch. My father opened the door as if he wasn't expecting anyone. Then he came out, closed the door behind him and said, "Maybe you shouldn't come in." Just like that. No context, no emotion. Just a dismissive gesture, as if I were a stranger who had come to the wrong address. I stood there, trying not to change my expression, even though my stomach was churning. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask why. I didn't want to explode in front of the children. I just nodded, picked up the bags, and went back to the car. My daughter asked if Grandma was sick. I said our plans had changed. I put the kids in their seats, turned on a movie in the back, and got in the front, gripping the steering wheel tightly. I wasn't upset. I wasn't broken. I was furious. Not even because of what had just happened, although that would have been enough, but because I already felt that this was no accident. It was planned. Exactly 20 minutes later, my aunt called. She was screaming, not letting me get a word in. "Why did the band cancel the show? They said you called." I didn't even know what she was talking about. She said that the band I had booked, paid for out of my own pocket, had received a call and an email canceling the gig. From me. I opened my email on my phone. There it was. Sent from my account. No reply. Not forwarded. Sent. Then I remembered. My mom had access to my email. I gave her access a year ago when she asked for help finding concert tickets I had bought. She said she didn't know how PDF files worked. I never revoked her access. I checked the activity log. The catering had also been cancelled. Also from my email. This was not an accident. This was not a misunderstanding. They wanted me to disappear. They used my access and my money to cancel everything I had organized. They just didn't expect me to show up. My father got caught, so he had to say something. I stopped at a cafe 2 towns away, ordered pancakes for the kids, and sat there with my coffee, staring at my phone. I didn't cry. I didn't ask questions. I just made plans. They didn't want me to interfere? Fine. They'd get exactly what they wanted. The first thing I did was log into our joint utility account. The one I'd been paying the difference on for years. Then I opened my banking app and cancelled the emergency card my mom had access to. I cancelled it and ordered a new one to be sent directly to me. Next were the joint family accounts for streaming, the cell phone bill, and garbage collection. Which, yes, was still in my name because they claimed they couldn't figure out the city's payment portal. I sat there and listed all the ways I had been their unpaid support system for years. All the times I had bailed them out without any gratitude. All the ways they had grown accustomed to. If they were going to exclude me from the one event I had helped organize, they would see what life was like without my help. And I wasn't going to warn them. By the time we got home, the kids were asleep in the car again, and I had made 5 changes that would take effect within a week. No more help with bills. No more automatic transfers. No more utilities paid from my accounts. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't make a scene. I just quietly began to erase myself from their lives. The next morning, I got a message from my mom. No explanation for last night. No apology. Just a photo of her and Dad with glasses of champagne and the caption, "It was a great night anyway." I looked at it for a second and then deleted the message. I didn't reply. I didn't ask any questions. They thought they got away with it. On Monday, I got a call from the power company. It turned out that the automatic payment hadn't gone through. I deleted my card. I told them to send the bill directly to my parents' address and hung up. On Wednesday, my father tried to call. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail asking if I had changed anything about the garbage collection. He said their trash cans hadn't been picked up and there was no record of a new pickup. I didn't call back. On Friday, I received a group message from my aunt, who clearly didn't know what had happened. She asked for help putting together a slideshow of old family photos for another cousin's wedding, saying, Barbara always does these things. My mom replied, she's very busy, don't bother her with that. Not Barbara's out of town, or Barbara's not feeling well. Just a casual change, as if I was no longer the main person. They adjusted faster than I expected, but I knew it wouldn't last long. Because on Saturday, my mom finally texted me again. One line. Did you cancel our streaming services? I didn't reply. 20 minutes later, she sent a longer message. I know you're angry. Can we at least talk about it? You could have just said something instead of doing all this. It made me laugh. Could I have said something? I typed a reply, deleted it, typed it again. Then I closed my phone and got up to check on the kids, who were painting in the living room, completely unaware of what was going on. That weekend, I made a complete list. Everything I did for them. I even found out that I was still the emergency contact for their pharmacy and the backup email address on their tax account. I removed myself from all those lists. Then the anniversary refund requests started coming in. I wrote messages to the catering company, the musicians, the tent rental company, and the bakery. I explained the situation. Some couldn't refund the deposit, but most gave me partial compensation or a refund. I transferred the money to my own savings account. When the money was returned, I received another message from my father. We noticed that the money was returned to your account. We would like to use it to replan something with close friends. We would appreciate it if you could send it to us when you have the opportunity. I blocked his phone. They weren't used to consequences. They weren't used to silence. I was always the one who made all the decisions. The planner. The reliable one. And now I was invisible. Cracks began to appear. But they still didn't understand what they had done. They still thought it was about the party. It wasn't. It was about the years they had used me, and finally, for the first time, I had made them feel what it was really like. And I wasn't even done yet. The next week, I got messages every other day. Nothing that acknowledged what they had done. Just little hints. Questions. Probing. Like they were trying to figure out what was missing. My mom sent me a photo of the bill and wrote, "Is this a new garbage service?" It says, "Final warning." But I don't remember receiving anything like this before. She hadn't paid her utility bills for over a year. I paid everything automatically because she always said she forgot. And I didn't pay attention, telling myself it was easier if I took care of it myself. Until it became impossible. My dad sent me an email about the traffic police, saying he couldn't log into his account. I remembered that I was still listed as the backup email address. I deleted myself while reading the message. Then my mom called. I transferred the call to voicemail again. This time she didn't ask about services or money. She said, "Your father is upset. I know you're angry, but it seems unfair to punish us like this over a misunderstanding." Unfair. That was the word she used. Then I remembered last Christmas. They forgot my son's birthday. Not by a day. Not even close. Nothing. No card. No call. I reminded them a week later, and my mom said, "We thought he was turning 5, not 6. He was 8. I missed it too. So I started digging. I went into my online financial records and printed out all the monthly statements where their names appeared. Garbage collection. Property taxes. Streaming service subscriptions. Phone plans. Grocery delivery loans. Birthday gifts for relatives that they sent through my Amazon account. Everything was in my name. My money. Then I found something I had completely forgotten about. Their anniversary. The one they celebrated without me. The wine they drank. I had ordered it in advance. A special bottle from a winery they loved. I sent it ahead of time with a card that said, "You both taught me what love is that stands the test of time." When I brought it over, it hadn't even been opened. They didn't mention it. I cancelled the upcoming anniversary they had booked using my bonus points. Last month, I offered to help them when they said they couldn't afford anything nice. They used my account to book the room. I called the hotel directly and removed their names from the reservation. Half an hour later, they received an email confirming this. My father called again. This time I answered. He didn't yell. He didn't ask how I was. He just said, "We need to talk. You're overreacting." I told him one thing. No more talking until they say what they've done. Out loud. Straight up. He said I was being dramatic. I hung up. By the end of the month, I closed our shared email account. I removed myself from their emergency contacts. I deleted the shared folder with all our family photos that I had spent hours scanning and labeling. They can create their own archive. And then the last straw came for them. I picked up my daughter from the summer art camp where my mother was volunteering. The same one she told everyone about, Barbara's daughter is coming, she's so talented. I wrote to the director and found another camp in a neighboring town. I didn't tell anyone. I just left. That night, my aunt called again. This time she didn't yell. She just said quietly, "Your mom called me in tears. She said you've completely cut them off." I didn't defend myself. I didn't explain. Because the truth was, I hadn't cut them off. They just finally stopped benefiting from pretending that nothing had happened. After that, they started acting differently. It started with little things. My dad left a voicemail saying he understood if I didn't want to talk, but he wanted me to know that he appreciated everything I had done over the years. This time, he didn't sound sarcastic or passive-aggressive. Just quiet. My mom sent me an email with a document, something about renewing insurance, and wrote at the bottom, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." That was the first time she had ever said that to me. They started paying their own bills. Not just the trash and electricity, but they filed their taxes for the quarter. My mom posted on Facebook that she had finally figured out the streaming apps, and even tagged me in the comment, saying, "Thanks for setting everything up for us earlier. You saved us more than we could have imagined." People probably thought it was a sweet post, but I knew it wasn't a compliment. It was a hint. She was testing the waters. They didn't understand that it wasn't about the bills. It wasn't about streaming subscriptions, bottles of wine, or throwing parties. It was about trust. I had let them rely on me for years, and every time I thought they were getting better, they did something to remind me that in those moments, I was never their daughter. I was just their backup plan. And on the day my father looked me in the eye and said, "Maybe you shouldn't come," after I had driven 4 hours with his grandchildren and gifts in the trunk, that's when I stopped being that plan. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. It had turned into something colder. Alienation. Now they were trying. They were really trying. I could see it. But it wasn't enough. Because I didn't believe they wouldn't do it again as soon as it suited them. I didn't want to teach my children that you should give people a chance just because they're your blood relatives. I didn't want my daughter to think that silence and patience were what earned respect. I didn't tell my children everything, but they understood enough. One day, my son asked me why we didn't go to his grandparents' house anymore, and I told him that sometimes people treat you in a way that makes you not want to go back. He nodded and went back to drawing. Then one day, out of the blue, a package arrived. It was from my parents. Inside was a handwritten letter. Not an email. Not a voice message. Real paper. They apologized. Completely. For the party. For canceling. For using my resources without permission. For taking me for granted. They said they would understand if I didn't forgive them. But they hoped I would believe that they were trying to change. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. I didn't throw it away. But I didn't reply. Not yet. Finally, there was respect. But love without trust? That's not love at all. And I wasn't going to risk my children's peace, and my own, for another promise. After the letter, they went quiet for a while. No text messages, no phone calls, no strange messages through relatives. For the first time in months, I felt like I had real space. I wasn't waiting for the next reproach or passive comment. I could breathe. Then came the church charity event. Every year, I made anonymous donations on behalf of my parents. My mother liked to pretend that she had organized half of the event, but most of the donations, items for a silent auction, food vouchers, even a new sound system last year, were from me. This time, they approached me directly. The coordinator said she hadn't heard from my mom and wondered if our family would be making a donation again. I said no. Not, we can't this year. Not, maybe next time. Just, no. 2 days later, my mom sent me her first message in a month. "Did you talk to Ms. Ellen about the fundraiser?" I didn't respond. The next day, I got another message. "I just want to know if you're cutting us off now. Is that it?" She wanted an answer. She wanted boundaries so she could test them again. But I didn't have to respond. Instead, I opened the spreadsheet where I kept track of our family's expenses. I hadn't looked at it in weeks, but now I did. All those rows and columns, receipts for gifts, grocery bills, bills I paid to help them catch up. It looked like a document for someone who runs a non-profit organization. I deleted it. Then I sat down with my daughter while she practiced reading aloud. We made popcorn. We watched the cartoon they had shown her at their house. She didn't ask to go back. She didn't mention them at all. That weekend, my cousin came to visit from out of state. She knew some things but not everything. Over dinner, she asked if I would ever forgive them. I said forgiveness wasn't the issue. The issue was trust. Forgiveness is free. Trust is expensive. A few days later, another letter arrived. This time it was from my father. It was different. He didn't try to explain anything. He just listed things I had done over the years. Things I didn't think he had noticed. Going to the store when they were sick. The hours I spent on the phone with the insurance company. Fixing their router over FaceTime. The trip to get a new phone when my mom dropped hers in the sink. The handmade gifts my kids made for them. The birthday surprises. The playlists I made for their road trips. He said he remembers everything now. That he's ashamed it took him losing it to realize how important it was. At the end he wrote, "We don't expect to be trusted again. But we would like the chance to try. Even if it takes years." That should have made me feel something. But it only confirmed what I already knew. They finally understood what I had taken from them. And they finally realized that I wasn't coming back. The summer passed without a single visit. The children never asked. My parents never insisted. It seemed they finally understood that what they had hoped for would not happen. Not the way it had before. They stepped out of their role as parents and became the people I had cared about before. The people you don't go back to when the mask comes off. In early September, I received an email from a lawyer I didn't know. My parents had set up a trust and appointed me as its executor. I guess it was their way of apologizing. They tried to fix the situation with paperwork. I refused. I no longer wanted to be the one cleaning up after them. Not now, not later. I didn't tell my children about it. But I sat them down and explained that sometimes even the people who are supposed to love you the most don't always treat you right. That you can love people and still decide not to be around them. That sometimes leaving isn't cruel, it's necessary. They understood more than I expected. In October, my daughter was invited to a Halloween party. It was the same weekend that my mother used to throw a pumpkin carving party for all my cousins every year. I saw the photos online. My mother wrote, "It's been a quiet year, but I'm grateful to those who came." There was no mention of us. I showed my daughter how to carve a bat on a pumpkin. She said it was better than grandma's. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. By the holidays, the silence between us was no longer cold. It had become familiar. On Christmas Eve, my mom sent a card. There was no letter inside. There were no apologies. Just a regular card, this time with our names spelled correctly. It was something new. I put it on the refrigerator. Not because it meant anything, but because it no longer meant anything. It was just a card. A gesture. I didn't reply. New Year's Eve passed quietly. No missed calls. No dramatic events. For the first time in a long time, I didn't start the year with a heavy heart. And then I really understood. They finally started to respect me. But not because I forgave them. Not because I explained myself to them. Not because I told them how to fix the situation. They respected me because I showed them what happened when I stopped playing the role they expected me to play. I didn't take revenge. I didn't yell. I didn't burn bridges. I just walked away. And I didn't look back.